If I asked you where house cats came from, you'd probably say Egypt, pharaohs, pyramids, maybe a golden statue of a cat-headed goddess. And you wouldn't be wrong, but you'd be about 4,000 years too late. The oldest evidence we have of human beings being buried alongside a cat isn't in Egypt. It's on a Mediterranean island that has never had a single native wildcat. And that one detail changes everything we thought we knew about how cats became cats. For most of modern history, the story went like this. Ancient Egyptians saw wildcats hunting mice near their grain stores, thought they were useful, and tamed them. Domestication as a transaction. Humans needed pest control, cats needed food, everybody shook hands. Simple. The problem is, almost none of that holds up anymore. The real origins of the house cat doesn't begin in Egypt, it begins here, in the Fertile Crescent, a strip of land stretching from modern-day Iraq through Syria, Turkey, and down into Israel and Jordan. This is where humans first invented farming roughly 12,000 years ago, and farming changed everything. Not just for us, for small sandy-colored wildcat named Felis Lybica, the Near Eastern wildcat. Because when humans started growing grain, they started storing grain. And when they stored grain, they attracted mice, thousands of them. And mice attract cats. No one trained these cats. No one caught them, bred them, or penned them the way the early farmers did with sheep or goat or cattle. What happened instead is something scientists now call commensal domestication, or more bluntly put, self-domestication. Here's how it works. You're a wildcat. You've been hunting rodents in open grassland your entire life. Then one day, you notice something. There's a building over there, made by those tall, noisy, two-legged animals, and it's almost absolutely full of mice. More mice than you have ever seen in one place. So you start hanging around, not because the humans invited you, not because they trained you, because the food is better for them than anywhere else. And the humans, they noticed you. They see you killing the mice that are eating their grain. And instead of chasing them off, they just let you stay. The friendliest cats, the ones least bothered by humans or noisy movements, stuck around the longest, ate the most, bred the most, and passed those tolerant genes to the next generation and the next and the next. Nobody tamed the cat simply moved in. This is worth pausing on because it makes a cat genuinely unique among every animal humans live with. Dogs, we actively domesticated them. We selected wolves for tameness, bred them for herding, guarding, hunting, shaped them into hundreds of specialized breeds over 15,000 years. Sheep, goat, cattle, captured, penned, deliberately bred for milk, meat, and wool. Cats did none of that. Nobody selected them. Nobody penned them. The cat is the only common domesticated animal that essentially chose to live with us on its own terms because our garbage attracted its food. And if you've ever owned a cat, that probably tracks. In 2007, a geneticist named Carlos Driscoll and his team published a landmark study in the Journal of Science. They sequenced DNA from nearly 1,000 cats, wild and domesticated, from across Europe, Asia, the Middle East, and Africa. And what they found ended the debate. Every single domesticated cat on Earth, every Persian, every Siamese, every tabby, every tuxedo cat on your couch right now descends from one subspecies, Felis sylvestris lybica, the Near Eastern wildcat. Not from European wildcats, not from Chinese wildcats, not from multiple independent domestication events in different parts of the world. One lineage, one origin, the Fertile Crescent. The DNA doesn't lie. Egypt didn't invent the house cat. Egypt inherited it, thousands of years after the relationship had already started. So here's the Mythbuster for this episode, and it's a big one. Egypt is not the wrong answer. Egypt is a hugely important chapter in the story of cats, and we're going to spend an entire episode on it, but it's chapter 2, not chapter 1. The real beginning is quieter. No pyramids, no golden statues, just a small wildcat walking into a grain store in the Fertile Crescent 10,000 years ago because the mice were good. That's the origin story of every cat alive today. Not divine, not dramatic, just practical. But if it was just about mice and grain,
we might never call it anything more than pest control. So how do we know it became something else? How do we know cats became companions, not just useful neighbors? For that, we go to Cyprus, an island in the Eastern Mediterranean. And here's the key detail. Cyprus has no native wildcats. It never has. There are no wild felines on the island at all. So any cat found there has to have been brought by a human deliberately by boat. In 2004, a French archaeologist named Jean-Denis Vignier was excavating a Neolithic village called Chiloru-Cambus, and he found something that rewrote the timeline.
A grave, a human skeleton buried with care, surrounded by polished stone axes, red orchid pigment flint tools. Whoever this person was, they mattered to their community. This was a high status burial. And 40 centimeters away, less than the length of your arm, laid a skeleton of an 8-month-old cat, facing the same direction as the human. No butchering marks on the bones, not eaten, not discarded, buried with them, deliberately. This is roughly 7,500 years before the Common Era, 4,000 years before the earliest Egyptian cat art, on an island where no cats could exist unless a human carried it across the sea. Someone brought this cat to Cyprus on a boat. Someone raised it. And when that person died, someone buried them together. That's not pest control. That is a relationship.
We don't know that person's name. We don't know the cat's name either. We don't know exactly when the first wildcat walked up to the first grain store or exactly when useful pest control animals became family. But when someone, on a day we can't pin down, picked up a cat, an animal that had never been tamed, never been bred, never been asked to be anything other than what it was, carried it onto a boat, and sailed it into an island. And we've been living with cats ever since.
That's where the story starts. A grain store, a wildcat, a choice nobody made on purpose. But in a few thousand years, that quiet beginning is going to turn into something no one could have ever predicted. An entire civilization, the most powerful in the ancient world, is going to worship cats as gods, mummify them by the millions, and make it a crime punishable by death to kill one. Next time on The History of Cats, Ancient Egypt and the Cult of Bastet.